You're listening to audio from the Decidedly podcast. For more information, find us on Instagram at Decidedly Podcast.
So I eat butter raw.
You know, I did that as a prank to my sister when she was little. She lost a bet to me and she had to eat like a half a stick of butter as punishment.
That's a little too much butter to eat.
Oh, that's why that was the punishment.
Yeah.
It's because everybody recognizes that that's far too much butter to eat once.
There's somewhere between a sliver and a half a stick is the sweet spot.
Yeah.
And it's a lot closer to a sliver.
Yeah. Well, the butter, any fat is a flavor enhancer. So you put that in any food and it makes it better.
But when you put it on no food,
if you put it on no food, it's not enhancing anything. So it doesn't have a taste. It's just a gross mouthfeel. So that's why you don't eat it by itself. Same reason you don't drink olive oil by itself.
I don't know. I eat butter by itself.
That's the most disgusting thing.
I think it's good for you.
It might be, but it doesn't sound like a pleasant way to go. Why not just put it on something?
Because bread's not good for you.
Well, nothing else is good for it. Put it on meat. Put it on your burger.
What if I'm not that hungry? I just need a little snack.
And why are you eating butter if you're not hungry?
I need to be satisfied. I need to have a little bit of butter and then I'm not as hungry. I eat a little bit of fat instead of having, 3 oatmeal cream pies. I add a little bit of butter. I'm good.
Why don't you take a shot from like that can of Cool Whip and just,
you know why?
Shake that in your mouth.
You know why? Because there's no nutrients in Cool Whip. There's sugar, which would induce more cravings of empty calories.
Oh, so they say.
Like that BS that you just opened, right? That Diet Coke.
Don't
how many of those
Cokes? I'm so sick of everybody crapping on my Diet.
You know why? Because they're not good for you.
Says who?
Says, I don't know.
I read
9 out of 10 dentists recommend.
I read a research paper produced by Coca-Cola that said it was fine.
Okay.
Let's get to the decisions. Right. I got some decisions that I pulled off Reddit.
Yeah, what are we doing today?
That I pulled off Reddit. I'm going to read you who submitted it. I'll read you the question, and then you provide the answer. All right. So you're going to make these people a decision for them.
We're gonna change their life and get them on the right track.
That's exactly what's going to happen. So the first one is from my nice account. It says, live together with long commute for both, or live separately with short commute for both. Wife is moving to Charlottesville. I'm going to Reston. Would you recommend a city or area in the middle that would be a good place to live and commute? Or is it worth it? Seems like we have 2 options. So he's made it easy. He's boiled it down to 2 options here. Take a place in the middle, commute 2 hours each for both. Or number 2, take 2 places, one in Charlottesville, one in Reston, meet up on the weekends. Really, I don't want a second one. Probably more expensive with 2 rents as well, but wanted some opinions if you guys had any. Thank you.
So this one is obvious, right?
To me,
we all know what the right decision is.
You want to help this fellow out?
Right, so you obviously don't move out with your wife. You obviously don't get a separate spot. Here's the thing: you have a responsibility to your family. This is a counterculture narrative these days. You have a responsibility to the person you committed your life to and the family that you're building. Part of that responsibility is to make sure that you're there for them. You can provide for them physically and emotionally. How are you going to do that living 3 hours away?
Well, aside from that, I think it's financially irresponsible to have 2 places for your household when you could just share one. So apart from all the stuff which you said I agree with, I think it also, to point number 2, it seems financially wasteful.
Sure. If it was more expensive to have one spot, I would say you should still have one spot.
Oh, you should have one spot regardless.
What are we even? Yeah. Here's the thing. Do you hate your wife, sir?
Well, he didn't say in the, he didn't write that out in the text here.
I'm curious that there might be some, maybe spend this drive time together, talking and getting to know each other and try to rekindle that relationship, because I can't imagine considering living apart from your wife as a realistic option that would better your relationship.
A temporary move like that is one thing, but having that be the permanent move that you decided on is completely other thing, and I think that's just wrong. If you're married, you're married. That's where you got to live together. Find another job if you can't find one.
Yeah. Reminds me of my sister and her husband. So they moved to Alaska for her job.
Mm-hmm.
Moved to Anchorage,
Alaska.
from Fort Worth, Texas. Moved to Anchorage.
It's about the same kind of thing.
It's the same, culturally, geographically, time zone.
Fort Worth is a lot like Anchorage, but without the ocean and the mountains.
Or the layers of fur coats that are required to survive the winter. So they moved to Anchorage, and then a couple of years later, he gets his dream job at SpaceX, which is in Brownsville, Texas.
Yeah, I see why they put it there. They're not going to hit anything with those rockets out in the middle of nowhere, but the downside is it's in the middle of nowhere.
It's way down there, way down south. And so they, nobody wanted to, he didn't want to give up his dream job. She didn't want to give up her dream job, but she made a really commendable decision, and that was to say, hey, you know what? I have a responsibility to my husband, and I have a responsibility to be there for them. And he was kind enough to move up here with me to Alaska to help me pursue something that was really important to me. I'm going to follow him and pursue what's really important to him. Nobody wants to move to Brownsville.
Nobody moves to Brownsville on purpose.
Nobody wants
People
to
only move
Brownsville.
from Brownsville.
But you know what they could have done is tried to do something similar to like what this guy is asking is, oh, well, let's do it independent. Let's do it separate. Well, then you're not married anymore. Then you're not together. You're not unified. You're not a team. So sometimes when you have a responsibility, there are going to be things that you don't want to do. There are going to be inconveniences. Maybe you have to live somewhere you don't want to live. Maybe you have to have a little bit longer drive to work than you otherwise would have. But that's what being responsible means. Let's go to the next one.
Well, this is a part of this question, but I think it's related. All right. So it kind of reminds me about couples that have separate bank accounts and separate their money. And I pay the rent, and you pay the groceries and the light bill.
I hate that. I never see that go well. I mean, it is always so weird when I hear someone who's married talk about her money.
Yeah, or he pays this and I pay that.
What are you doing? Y'all are together. You're sharing a bed. You're sharing a bank account. Okay. Mm-hmm. You probably shouldn't be sharing one if you're not sharing the other.
Well, that's either way. Either way that goes.
You're sharing both or neither. Okay.
Exactly.
But if you're married and you are a team and you're making consequential life choices together, there's no such thing as her money. There's no such thing as your money. Mm-mm. You have our money, and that's it. And I know there's people that disagree, and I see there's some guy on YouTube, I won't like call him out, but he's some big real estate tycoon who's like, oh, you got to have your wife have her own money. You got to have separate money, her money, your money, and our money. That's a horrible idea. As a professional, as someone who gives money advice, as someone who's seen families deal with big money decisions, that I don't ever see work out well.
Well, in my experience is the same as yours, and I've had a lot of discussions with people about their money, and I have seen people that separate it out. There is an aspect of mental accounting and scorekeeping that goes on that you can't escape from. So if I have an account and you have an account, I'm going to be keeping score, and it's never, the ledger's never going to balance out. Mm-hmm. And there's always that tit for tat. If you did this, I'm going to do that. And doesn't.
It's not always, they don't always speak that.
That's it's not the thing.
People don't talk about it. The thing with this issue is like a lot of people might be listening right now and thinking, well, I do that and it's fun. It's working out. Well, by what measure, right? That's like it's like me going to some guy who eats cheeseburgers every damn day and say, hey man, it ain't going to work out well. And he goes, I'm fine. I'm fine.
Yeah.
Well, by what standard? By the fact that you haven't died yet? Yeah. Okay. By that standard, it's good. By the standard of we haven't gone through a bitter divorce yet, it's working out. If that's your standard, yeah, maybe the separate bank accounts are working. But as far as achieving the maximum harmony possible in your financial life with your spouse, no, you are not going to achieve that with separate bank accounts.
Combining them fosters a necessity for a relationship built on trust and responsibility. It forces discussions around prioritization that are important to move forward financially with common goals.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Okay. I think we're in alignment on this. You want to hear the next question?
Yeah.
All right. This is from...
I can't wait to disagree.
this from Skittle Barrel. It says, we live in purgatory. My wife has a multi-million-dollar trust fund, but my mother-in-law controls it. We earn $400,000 a year and spend beyond our means. What's our next move?
That's it. That's what we got.
That's what you got.
We spend. Okay, hold on. I want to make sure I'm getting the facts right.
Right.
So it's a trust fund.
Trust fund. Wife's trust fund. Multi-millionaire. Mother-in-law runs it. They're overspending for $400,000.
Let me speak it. $400,000 in income.
Mm-hmm.
They're living past their means.
Yes.
What do we do about that? Okay. So I want to take this very seriously because some people are listening thinking that's absurd. How do you have $400,000 that you are spending all of? I get that where you're coming from. So you found yourself in a predicament. You're spending more than you're making, even though what you're spending is a high figure, to the tune of 10 times the median household income in this country. You're still spending more. What's our next move? Well, you can't presumably do anything about the fact that your mother-in-law is managing this money. That's not something that's within your control.
That's built into the trust.
That's not something that's within your control. So you can't change that. All you can address are those things that are within your control. You cannot increase the amount of distributions you're getting. You can't magically increase your income from $400,000 to $600,000. No matter how hard you work on it, that income isn't going to change.
More than likely, it's not an easy thing to change. Right? Is that your point?
As far as the trust income distribution?
No, the trust income is fixed.
That's what
by the trust. I would assume yes. That's every trust I've ever seen is fixed.
That's what I'm saying is, well, it could be a percentage distribution, but point being, it's not something that he can control in any way.
That's my point.
Yeah. So all you can control is your spending. Well, for specific advice, I would say that if you have a spending problem, which there is a problem here, if you're spending more than you're making, it's a big problem if you're spending more than $400,000. Here's what you do. Now, some people will say you need to pull out a spreadsheet. You need to line item out every single thing that you're spending money on. You need to budget, and then you need to figure out what you're spending too much on and cut back in that area. I don't think that you need to do that. How many clients of yours do you have that budget? Because I have zero.
I have zero with one sort of asterisk on it.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
So neither of us have clients that budget. The only budget line item that matters is the savings rate required for you to meet those objectives which you cannot sacrifice.
Right. That was the asterisk I put on it.
So that's the one. Those are the things. I want to repeat that again. The only line item in your budget that matters is how much do I have to set aside? How much do I have to save so that I can do all of the things that I am unwilling to not do? All right. So that might be, I have to retire at 65. For example, I'm just going to make one simple goal so that we can get this conceptually. I have to retire at 65. I can't not do that. If I work one day past 65, I am going to lose it. Okay, cool. So you're going to do that, and you're going to figure out the math that says I've got to save X percent of my income to get there, and you do that. I don't care how much you spend on dining out. I don't care how much you spend on going to the movies. I don't care if you get a housekeeper or not. As long as you're saving that amount and you're not going into debt in the process, you're doing great. So where budgeting can help is you can get an awareness of where your money is being spent and evaluate that not on, we should or should not be spending on these luxuries, but evaluate it based on whether those spending categories are in alignment with your values. So if you are spending, for example, you're spending what you think might be a high amount on travel, and you're spending above your means, and you look at that and you go, well, is adventure, is travel, is creating new experiences, are these things more important than other things in my life? Or is my community more important? Is spending time with my family more important? Maybe there are other things that are more important than the adventure that travel allows you to pursue. Well, in that case, yeah, cutting back on your travel budget makes sense. Mm-hmm. But if you're someone that says, I live for the adventure, these travel experiences are the best moments of my life, I all year long, I'm counting down to the day that I get to go to Cabo or whatever it is. Well, maybe that is something that's in alignment with your values, and that's okay. There's probably something you're spending on that is not in alignment with your values. Maybe it's the personal trainer that you actually don't go to.
Yeah, I agree with all of
things that aren't. There's money that you're spending that isn't as important to you. Cut back on those things.
Yeah, I agree with all that. In my experience, the budgetary item that I have people allocate to is needs-based savings, wants or second, and then wishes, and that's it. Everything else flows appropriately and should. If you're having a spending issue on that, at this income level, the changes you'd have to make are probably substantive. Yeah. Moving from the premier cable package to the basic cable package is not going to cut it.
Not going to do anything.
This is a where you live, where you travel, where you're educated change in life if to get that type of spending in line in my experience. My take
what are those categories? I mean, those categories are education, housing, car, travel. It's it's the expenses that have commas in them.
Yeah,
it's not if you're talking about your water bill at really any level, you're missing the point of what can actually move the needle on spending changes.
Yeah, these are substantive changes. So the only reason, kind of going back to this person's situation, the only reason somebody sets up a trust is because they don't trust. That's the reason the trust is in place, and there's a reason why they didn't give it to your wife. It sounds like for good reason. You guys can't control spending. There's a reason the mother-in-law is the trustee for a good reason. And basically, dude, live your life based on your income. Get it in, exert some financial self-control and self-discipline. You will be happier as a husband and a father and a man if you do that. Live within your means. Can't get any more basic than that.
Yeah. Can we condense our advice here to say, spend less money, dude?
That's the root of what we just said.
Really, that's all. That's actually all you have to do.
Yeah. You want to hear the next? You ready for the next one?
Yeah.
All right. So this is from Ecstatic Craft, 7192. Can you have opinions on things you haven't seen or done? I don't know if this fits here. This will be fun. I don't know if this fits here, so if there's another place I should ask, let me know. My friends and I are arguing because I say I can have a basic opinion on movies or activities, even though I haven't seen or done them. He says you cannot. Example, I say I don't like Color Out of Space, a Nicolas Cage movie, based off of what I've seen or heard about the movie. Oh, man. I just said I wouldn't like that movie, so I wouldn't want to watch it. It's not something I'd enjoy. But he says, hey, I'm not allowed to have an opinion that I don't like a movie until I've seen it. I do this often. It seems like a normal thing to me. He told me to ask the internet, so here I am.
Okay. On one, I'm going to answer yes and no.
Okay.
So you can, if, and this is a very important key, you can totally do this if you're trolling. Which is acceptable behavior amongst friends. If you want to troll your friends and say...
You think his friends just jacking with it?
If you want to say like, dude, I hate the Beatles. They suck. And you go, what? Have you ever listened? And you go, nah, don't get it.
No, I'm just... No, what I hear about them, I don't like them. Yeah, okay.
I heard about them.
Yeah. Oh.
Then actually...
I encourage that.
That's actually so funny. You should totally do that.
Yes.
If you're being serious and you want to have an intellectual understanding of the world, then you should follow Charlie Munger's advice. So Charlie Munger's iron prescription is, I cannot have an opinion on this topic, and I'm paraphrasing, I cannot have an opinion on this topic until, and only until, I can explain my opponent's point of view better than he can. So if you can explain why the Nicolas Cage movie that you didn't see sucks more than your friend who watched it and loved it, okay, I guess it's going to be hard if you haven't watched it. What's better is to say, I don't have a right to have an opinion because I don't fully understand it. And guess what? You don't have to have an opinion on everything. You do not have to have an opinion on everything. You can say, I don't really want to see it without saying definitively it's a horrible movie. But that goes with anything from political ideas preferences, to anything. Say, hey, maybe this new idea would work. Maybe in my business, this idea would work. I'm not going to do it. And I'm not going to do it because I'm saying it's a bad idea or because I definitely don't like it. I just don't want to. I don't want to. Like I will tell clients often, and I stole this straight from you, is in order for us to do something, it's going to meet 3 criteria, right? It's going to work, because if it doesn't work, I'm not going to recommend it to you. It's going to be something that makes sense to you, because if it doesn't make sense, I'm not going to let you do it. And it's going to be something you like. It has to be all 3 of those. Mm-hmm. It might work and make sense, but for whatever reason you don't like it, that's fine. Now, that does happen sometimes where a client will say, look, I get it. I trust you, Sanger. I know you got my best interest at heart. You wouldn't be telling me to do this if you weren't 100% confident that it was going to work for me. I understand how it works based on how you've explained it, but there's something in me that I just don't like it. We go, okay, that's fine. So I feel like that's this Nicolas Cage movie experience, is you can go, hey, you know what? Maybe it's a good movie, maybe not. I don't know, but I just don't want to watch it. And that's okay.
Well, I think that, this person may be trolling us, because clearly if you're making a decision on whether to watch a movie based on the trailers and what you've heard about it, that's discernment based on proper amount of information. If you're saying, gee, I don't like superhero movies or horror movies.
No, you have to watch every movie in the world.
Yeah, you're telling me I got to watch every movie before I can have an opinion on that movie? That's ridiculous. Yeah. So if you are discerning whether or not you want to engage in some sort of activity based on the information they've put out, the trailers, whatever, that's obviously appropriate. So here's my follow-up question to this. Can you have an opinion? I hear some people say, well, gee, Sanger, you're not a woman. You can't speak to women's issues.
Crap.
Yeah.
Well, it totally depends. Can I explain the position better than the person sitting across from me? So what are we talking about, right? Okay. Can I have an opinion on what it must be like to be a woman in this society? Well, I guess not, because I am not one, won't be one, haven't been one. Can we have an opinion? Can I have an opinion on a topic that maybe affects women differently or disproportionately than it affects men? If I can understand and understand and research and gauge or understand the opponent's point of view better than they can describe it and explain it, then yeah, I tend to not do that very often.
I think it's a weak argument to when somebody is asserting a position, to take a position that they shouldn't have an opinion.
Yeah, I'm going to exclude broad categories of people, right. So then there are fewer dissenting voices that I have to contend with.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
It's not necessary if your position is well thought out, well articulated.
Right. I agree with that. Have you finished with that? You ready?
What? No, imagine this. Imagine this one. You can't have an opinion on raising rates on rich people. You're not rich. Hey, what the hell? We don't like that one all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. See how that the logic
see how you like that
completely crumbles if you apply it to any other different scenario.
Right. Well, no, I do think that if you're not paying...
I actually agree with that. I agree with that. I take it back.
I'm going to go with that. If you're not paying taxes, you should not have an opinion on how tax structure is designed. If you're not paying any taxes, you should not have an opinion on tax legislation at all. Sit down.
All right, what's next?
All right. This is from Stupid Lupid, I guess. Should I be a vegetarian? I've been a vegetarian for a little less than a year.
Next.
You don't even want to hear it?
No. No. Okay.
All right. I'm going to read it.
Listen. Before you even continue, being a vegetarian, first of all, extraordinarily high likelihood that you're going to have health problems. You're not going to get enough protein. You're going to lose energy. It's not how your body was designed. Save me the moral argument. Okay. Save me the moral argument. We are designed to eat meat. That is foundationally why we evolved as a human species, is because we figured out how to cook meat And that is why our brains grew in size, which gave us cognitive ability to problem solve, etc. So you can continue, but there's virtually nothing that this person could say.
You're going to be unswayed by whatever I read after this.
The only meat available to me is New York City rats. Okay, maybe then you can be a vegetarian. But anyway,
well, I mean, you said all that, and I'm a vegetarian. But
that explains a lot.
I mean, I'm not strict about it. I mean, I still eat meat.
Okay. You just, yeah.
Okay. It sounds like if somebody's asking that question and it's not health-based, then they're doing it for external motivations. They're not doing it for the right reasons. In other words, if you want to be a vegetarian, you're not just throwing that out to the internet. You've done that based on either health or moral grounds.
Choices. What did they say? What did they say?
Now you want to hear it?
I do.
All right, here we go. It started because my roommate said I wouldn't be able to do it. Okay, that's
okay. Yeah. Now I'm kind of getting more. I'm leaning a little bit towards giving it a shot, but keep going.
Okay. Also, the guy I was seeing at the time was vegetarian, so it's kind of a solidarity thing.
Now we're back to
I
not
wanted him to pay more attention to me. However, I don't talk to either of those people anymore. The main reason I kept it up after cutting them off is because I didn't like thinking about dead animals. However, I really miss eating chicken. I want chicken wings, not fake meat. I want the chicken wings.
This is now we're back to, okay, this is why you shouldn't do it. So all of the reasons here are, I want to make sure I get this clear. First, it was, my friend said I couldn't do it.
Yes.
Now, hold on. If you stopped there and this was for a defined period of time, then I would say yes, because what is the rule? The rule in our world here is you do anything that your friend says that you can't do. If your friend says you can't do it, that's a double dog dare.
Well,
that's basically a double dog dare.
If you are double dog dared, you kind of have to.
You have to do it, right?
That is true.
So you couldn't swim across that frozen pond. Well,
watch me.
Look, you're gonna have to.
Yeah.
You couldn't eat that worm. You're gonna.
Well,
you're
I
gonna
think
have to.
When you look at a decision like this, I'm going to call this a substantial decision because it's the life-changing decision on what you're consuming. There's three types of motivation that you'd look at. One is an external motivation, and that would be, hey, I want to. My friend said I couldn't do it, or an internal motivation, or an intrinsic motivation. This is just who I want to be. This is who I want to become, right? And I think if you're looking at a change that big, it's got to be driven by something more substantive than I'm doing it to impress my boyfriend, which seems kind of shallow.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. And the next one is Bronze Caterpillar. Should I keep the money I found?
Okay.
I found a purse, and it has a driver's license and some bank cards and some money. I'd like to give it back. I could drop it through the post office and just give it to the police station or something, but I'm really tempted to take the money first. It's not a great deal, maybe a week's worth of groceries amount. A couple of clues lead me to think they're better off than me to the extent that they may not miss it at all. If I had seen it and been nearby the address, I would have just dropped it off there, and then without seeing how much money there was in the wallet. But now I've come home and I'm tempted. My options are, as they see it, keep the money, or 2, keep a finder's fee, they put in quotes, or 3, give them everything back.
Mm-hmm. So they may be better off. There are a couple of clues they may be better off than me. All right, Robin Hood. So you're gonna give it back. First of all, why? Because it's not yours. This is not that hard, but we'll break it down because it seems like you're struggling with this issue. What doesn't belong to you does not belong to you. What is not yours is not yours. Okay, we all know this, and you know this, which is why you're asking the internet. You want somebody to justify what you know in your heart and in your mind and in your soul to be an immoral choice. Okay, now it does not matter if they are more well off than you. And you know this to be true because no one is in favor of people less well off than them being able to steal from them. That's not something that anyone says is okay. So you wouldn't be comfortable with someone who claimed to be going through more hardships than you, keeping your money if it was in your wallet. So you give it back. Now, there's all sorts of other justification. Well, I would have done this. Dad, if only the situations were exactly right, this person would have done the moral thing. Can you believe it? Well, that sounds exactly like someone with no integrity. So whatever the situations are, you still do the right thing, which in this case means you don't keep the money that doesn't belong to you. Even if the fact that the money is in there makes it more difficult to give it back logistically. Let's say it was gold bars in the purse, and now you've got to pay more in shipping to get it back to its rightful owner, or if you've got to lug it around town with a bad back just to find the house that you think it belongs to, then you should still give it back. And maybe even more so, you should give it back. I remember working with, I had an employee a long time ago who, due to a mistake at our company, had to go into his own pocket to make things right. So he spent some money to make things right for a client based on a mistake that our company had made. It wasn't a mistake that he, the employee, made, but he felt like we as a company made a commitment to do something. We failed on that commitment, and he was like, I'm going to make it right.
Okay.
Went into his own pocket.
All right.
So I want to be clear. It was not just something that like, oh, I feel like we should do them a favor. It was, we said we would do this as a company, and then we did.
Got it.
So I go to my business partners. I say, hey, just to let you know, we're going to have to pay for this thing that went wrong. And the first question was, well, how much is it?
Oh, that's not a good question.
Not a good question. But what was funny is that in that moment, I realized that it actually did not matter to me because I didn't ask. So I said, I don't know. I didn't ask.
Yeah.
I didn't ask because it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And his perspective was, well, it totally matters because if it's, $50, then we'll cover it. But if it's 50,000, then we can't cover it.
Even more the reason you're going to hang your employee out to dry.
That's exactly what I said. I said, if it's 50,000, then that means we need to wire it
right
now.
Yeah.
We need to pay it quickly. So whatever you're using to justify, and this is true with a lot of questions surrounding integrity, all of the things that your mind might trick you to use as justifications to act without integrity are actually even more of a reason to act with integrity.
Yeah. I think, I'd help this person out a little bit. If you, just from the legal standpoint, if you're walking through the park and you find money in the middle of the park, there's no way to know whose it is. Finders keepers, right? If you find a wallet that says whose money it is, you find something and it's easy to determine whose it is, and you don't return that, that's actually stealing by the law.
Yes.
Okay, so let's set that aside. If you are trying to sort of hold yourself up as give yourself moral gold stars by returning the wallet absent the money, good luck. It's not going to work. That it doesn't stand up to anybody's definition of moralism. I had this exact thing happen to me back the last time we went to Napa. We went to a store, and outside the store in the parking lot there was a woman's wallet. I pick it up, because it looked like it had just fallen. It wasn't real run over. It wasn't trash. It was a nice wallet. So I looked at it, opened it up, and there was a driver's license in there, but it was a Mexican national or something like that. So I looked on Facebook. We tried to find this person on the internet. They were not a resident of the town, and it had money in it. And so I just took it into the store right in front of where we found it. And I thought, this person in the store, they're going to take the money. they're going to take the money. And if this person ever sees their wallet back, it's going to be minus the money, probably. Right. But then I thought, you know what? That's on them though. If they do that, I did the right thing. This is all I can do. This person, if they come looking for the wallet, I would go to the store if I were them and see, did anybody turn it in? I'm going to do the right thing I can. I'm not going to justify it and the clerk's probably going to take the money, so I might as well take the money since I found it. You just got to do the right thing and then move on. And sometimes, that little voice sitting on your shoulder saying, do the wrong thing, ignore that voice.
Devil in your ear.
Ignore it. Yeah. Those are the questions I've got.
So what questions are on your mind,
The
what decision do you need to make?
I don't have any decisions. I do.
Well, you got it all figured out?
You got
it all figured out?
No preparation. You're going to throw that question at me on what decisions I have to make. I don't have to make decisions.
One decision that I'm glad you made is buttoning up that shirt before we started. You came in here looking
like Tom Jones.
Looking like you came from the 1970s disco.
Now, to be fair, it had come loose. I didn't.
Oh, that's what they all say.
What else am I going to say? You're giving me a hard time.
All righty.
All right. We've made some decisions. We made the world a better place.
All right. Yeah. So you can send in your decisions, and next time we get together, we will answer the questions that are on your mind and the minds of Reddit users around the world. You can go to our podcast website, decidedlypodcast.com, and submit your questions. And if they're funny enough, insane enough, or important enough, we'll help you out.
You just made a great decision to listen to this episode of Decidedly. Make another great decision and leave us a 5-star review wherever you listen to podcasts. We appreciate your support. It helps others find our community and defeat bad decision-making in their own lives. For more daily decision-making insights, check us out at decidedlypodcast.com and on Facebook and Instagram at Decidedly Podcast. Thanks again for listening. I'm Sanger Smith, and this is Decidedly.
Insights, advice, and comments provided by Sean Smith, Sanger Smith, and speakers identified as part of the Decidedly podcast should not be considered recommendations. Speakers who are not identified as members of Decidedly are expressing their own opinion, and their statements should not be construed as reflecting the views of the Decidedly team. This podcast is produced solely for informational purposes, not personalized advice.